Yo, what's up, everybody? I'm Christian. Today on TCA, we are going to be talking about the question of, is automation worth it? Is it worth it? Is it worth the investment? Is it worth the capital? That's what we're going to be talking about. This is TCA. I'm Christian, and I'm joined by Nathan Gower. Hey, Nathan.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah. So if you guys watch if you watch TCA on a regular basis, you'll know that I'm without my standard co-host, Andy Turner, who's traveling. Where's Andy? I don't even know where he is today, but he's off. He's doing his thing, but he'll be back in the weeks to come. But today I'm joined by Nathan. And Nathan, real quick, just for everybody, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about what you do at Weinig.
Sure. So I work in our applications group, software development, integration, helping customers solve manufacturing problems.
Awesome. Yeah. All right, so everybody, so we are live, Facebook and YouTube, as we are every week. TCA, 9 a.m. Eastern Time. Every week we're live. We come to you from Weinig, Holz-Her, USA in Mooresville, North Carolina. Mooresville is north of Charlotte.
North of Charlotte.
Yeah, north of Charlotte. Why is that important? Well, it's not really important, I guess, but it is.
If you're coming to visit us, that's where you're flying into.
That's right. And you should come and visit us October 28th and 29th.
Yes.
October 28th.
Oktoberfest.
Oktoberfest is happening here in Mooresville. So it's important to know where Mooresville is because of that. So, yeah, Oktoberfest 28th and 29th. That's our annual open house. We're opening up the doors to our showroom, doing a lot of machine demonstrations, maintenance workshops. We're a German company, so we know a thing or two about Oktoberfest.
Thing or two.
Yeah. So we'll have some good German fare and some games and plenty of beer, and we're going to have a good time, fun time. But also a good time to talk about what is new with the Weinig Group. So, yeah.
Yeah, it'll be good.
So mark your calendars, October 28th and 29th, that's Oktoberfest. Okay, we're going to get into automation because last week, Nathan, I heard this question a lot.
Okay.
Is automation worth it? Mm-hmm. We got a rising challenge of finding skilled labor.
Yep.
Demands are ever increasing.
Yep.
Business is good.
Yeah, business is booming. Business
is booming. So a lot of folks who haven't taken that step into automation or haven't who think that they haven't taken that step into automation are now saying, is automation worth it? Is it worth the capital? Is it worth the financing that I would have to get to get into that automation environment? And you know what? We're gonna say that's the wrong question.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
I think so.
It's a terrible question.
Yeah, because you're just looking at it from one perspective.
Yeah.
From the cost of the equipment.
Right.
Rather than all of the benefits, the pros and cons. You're not evaluating all the pros.
It's a question that I think that maybe folks who ask it, maybe they don't mean it like that, but I think semantics are actually important in this conversation.
I think so too, because if that's the only question you're asking to start the conversation in that dialogue, then you're immediately kind of putting yourself in a hole.
You're constraining yourself.
Yeah, now you've got to dig back out of that.
Right.
So it's important not to focus strictly on the capital costs, but the gains from that expenditure.
Yes, and the capital cost / one thing that we think about is the monetary cost, but another thing that we need to think about and we need to measure is the opportunity lost.
Yes.
By not.
I completely agree.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. So that's something. So we're going to talk about that. What do we know about that? Okay, so both of us. Have come from manufacturing. We have at least a little bit of a pedigree, I guess.
A little bit, yeah.
when it comes to that kind of stuff. Granted, yes. So we're at Weinig now. We've both worked in shops. We have both been on the journey, which I want to talk about the journey too, because it is not an all or nothing thing.
No, you have to piecemeal it together.
Absolutely, 100%. We want to talk about that. We want to talk about kind of the extension of that conversation of how do we get into a more focused, meaningful conversation about automation and what does that discussion actually look at. So that's what we're going to be talking about this morning on TCA. So again, we are live on Facebook. We're live on YouTube. Hey, also, if you don't like what we're saying, drop us a comment. Just put it in the comments. Let us know. You got a question? Let us know. It's all good, and we'll get to it. All right. So Yeah, so automation. First of all, so I mentioned last week I heard this. So last week I was at EBC, the Executive Briefing Conference. It was in Colorado Springs, and it was put on every year by the Woodworking Network. Great conference. 3 overarching themes. 1, workforce. 2, supply chain. Okay, obviously. And then 3, automation.
Yep.
Right? Automation. Is it worth it? What's out there? What's going on? We heard from some great panelists, some great speakers about a fully automated, almost a lights out production shop.
Yeah.
Which is this really, it's great to see. It's eye candy a lot of times.
Yeah,
right?
Conceptually, it's a beautiful thing.
It really is. And you know, a lot. I think maybe Nathan, and why don't you talk about this? Sometimes that's actually the hurdle.
Yes.
For some shops, they like to see that, but that is the actual hurdle.
I agree. I mean, when I look at it, you know, if you're small shop to the big shop, right? What's one thing that everybody's doing right now? Well, they're watching these YouTube videos.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, and you watch a YouTube video and the guy's got some crazy brand of tool or whatever, and you look at that and you're like, okay, well, my hobby or my business, I want to take to that point. But the investment to get there is so dramatic.
It is. It's a dramatic step.
Right, and you can't just look at, you know, this item and be like, I have to attain that right now.
Right.
Right. What are the steps that you can take to kind of inch your way towards that as an overarching goal for your business, hobby, whatever it might be for you?
Sure.
Right, and I think that's the misconception here is you see a lights out facility.
Yeah.
Man, that's sweet.
Right.
Right.
I want that.
That is conceptually, that is awesome.
Right.
Okay, but the difficulty is getting there. And I think there's a lot of people that don't talk about the different steps you need to take in order to get to that point.
That's right. And that's the important part. So don't let that end goal be the hurdle for taking the first step.
Agreed.
Right. So when we talk about having the wrong question of is automation worth it, perhaps the question really is what automation do we need today to get to tomorrow?
Correct.
Right. And when I say today, I don't mean like Tuesday. Right. I mean our current situation.
Yep.
What automation can we put into our current situation to achieve the next step, to achieve our near future goals, to get to a point where we can continue to add on?
Correct.
If we're always looking to automation that is unachievable, we're never going to get any automation because that's our step. Yep. Right? And that's what we're going to talk about. All right, so Nathan, in your experience, from a manufacturing perspective, how do you identify the automation steps?
For me, it was theory of constraints.
Okay.
Right, and this is one from a management perspective, but 2, just speaking to the operators, right? The operators are going to tell you what's the most difficult part about your job. Right? That guy's going to tell you, well, I'm tired of picking up a panel and moving it from here to here. Right?
Sure.
Or if you look at the total operation, you got a ton of, let's say, cabinets, right? You're building cabinets, end panels coming off the saws, but you're lacking in another part.
Yep.
Right? You can't build because of this other part. Well, let's evaluate specifically that and what can we do to automate, right? Could be finishing, could be at the beam saw, right?
Absolutely.
Something to move parts away from the machine faster, right? To help that operator clear it, the machine, so the machine can keep running. And that's how I would look at all of this, is just a simple theory of constraints.
Sure.
Right? Where are my hands tied? Where can I add some automation and help out my operators?
Okay. Absolutely. So just this morning, I saw a post on LinkedIn, and I think this is where I would go with it, is are we measuring our CI on the shop floor? Are we measuring our continuous improvement steps on the shop floor?
Yep.
And if we are, those metrics are going to shed light on where those hangups are.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Completely.
Now, you mentioned talking to operators.
Yep.
So I want to talk about that real quick, because there is, from a management or an owner perspective, there's a little bit of a hesitation there.
Yeah.
Because there's the hesitation that maybe that conversation then has a stigma of, you know, you don't want to talk to the operator about automating their job, because then they're left with, well, what do I do?
Yeah, they're left with the mental thought of, well, there goes my job.
Right.
That machine's going to do my job. But, you know, that's not the real world.
That's not real world. That doesn't
not
actually
at all
happen
anymore, right?
That's
Because,
right.
Okay, you automate this one position. Well, this opens up opportunities for that operator to do a different job that he wasn't able to do earlier.
Let me tell you who understands that the most. The operator.
The operator.
That's exactly right. He gets it.
Yep.
Man, yes, people on the shop floor are such a great resource for letting you know where there should be automation. Because like it or not, if an operator, I've been in these situations, if an operator does not enjoy, or if they believe that the process is inefficient, they will make it even more inefficient. That will just be a downward spiral. And they will be the ones to let you know that process, that operation, that needs to be automated. So that's a step, right? That's not, hey, we're going to, that might be one material handling step.
Yes.
It might be one step in your finishing. It might be your primer, right? It might be one step. Doesn't mean everything, but it's one step. So, okay, so another thing that I heard about last week from a fairly knowledgeable, or a couple knowledgeable shops, was this idea of a journey.
Okay.
All right, so when we talk about automation, again, we're not talking about this leap into lights out. Okay, we're talking about actual steps that take you from your current state to your next step.
Baby steps.
That's right. So going on this journey is more than just investing in the equipment that could take you there.
Correct.
But it's also, there's an investment in infrastructure too.
Yes.
Because a lot of times you want to automate your shop, you're not going to build a building for that. You're going to try to do it in your facility.
Space.
In your facility. Now, you've gone through some shop designs in your past. So, obviously there are, why don't you tell everybody, I mean, there's some considerations that need to be taken into account there that maybe we don't always think about.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I've done a bunch of different layouts, a couple greenfields, and those are great.
Right. Those
perfect. It's blank slate. You're just like, I'll pick and place stuff
that's
wherever
the minority.
it needs to be, right? But most people aren't in that situation.
Exactly.
And like, for instance, the one thing that we had done is relocated and minimized the footprint of our frame building process, right? We went from a 38,000 square foot warehouse down to about 10,000 square feet with machines and inventory, right? And we had to kind of shoehorn this thing into the side of what we called our mill, where we were producing all our other stock. And it was a labor, right?
Yeah,
but
right.
I think the one thing that people miss is you can't just create a layout, put it into place, and kind of walk away from it, right?
Okay. All
I
right.
spent probably 3-4 months on this project, right? Reevaluating the layout. Don't come up with what you think is the best, right? Better beats best.
Better beats best.
Right?
That's right.
That's so critical here is when you're working on this, adding automation, changing processes in your facility, implement it, right? Talk to the operators, get their feedback, see how this new automation has provided them a better throughput in their department, right?
Right.
And then just take feedback. Right? And use that feedback, but keep continually tweaking and manipulating this until you get to a point where it's sustainable the way it is, right? Where the operators can work this process with the new automation or whatever it might be, right, effectively and efficiently. And when the operators are happy, right, that part of the process is just going to fly.
Absolutely. 100%. I agree. When you're in a facility that's already producing, there is also a fear. I think that there is that fear of, well, how is introducing automation going to disrupt our current flow?
Yes.
That's something that that's something from last week. One of the panelists was talking about setting the correct expectations. And when you're introducing automation, many times you're going down a couple levels of automation so that you have a higher ceiling, right?
Yes.
So you're going to get a little bit less productive so that you can get more productive.
Correct.
And I think that's almost always the case.
Yep.
Going into that with that expectation is so key.
Yes.
It's so key.
Yep.
Absolutely.
We're trying to find a method to negate any potential downtime from
Even better.
implementation of that automation, right?
Sure.
One of the things we did, right, it costs you additional labor, but we would either put more labor into the area or we'd pay a little bit of overtime, right? Because that immediate cost to us was less than what we would gain over the long term by shutting that down, adding the automation, and moving the process forward.
Then trying to start it back up again, right?
Exactly.
With a new line or a new...
Exactly.
Sure. All right, so a couple other things about automation that I wanted to touch on, and that is, I think, again, I want to go back to that idea that automation is not an all or nothing investment. It's not an all or nothing step. It's a journey. It's a step by step. It's a looking at what you need today to reach those current goals.
Yep.
I think that we already know that as an industry, but we may not even call it automation. And let me explain what I'm saying. So, all right. So how many folks out there are watching who started off with a table saw, right? Then went to a slider.
Yep.
Then eventually traded in their saw blades for router bits.
Yep.
I mean, right?
Yep.
Okay. So you can call that's automation, right? You went through a step-by-step automation.
Correct.
How many people started off taking their orders on a 3-ply carbon copy paper?
Yeah.
Right? Okay. And then their kid made them an Excel sheet.
Yeah.
Right? and now they actually have a CRM or an ERP or something that resembles that.
Yep. Or Envision.
Or Envision, right?
Shameless plug.
That was shameless. So we already understand these steps. So now I want to before we draw this automation discussion to a close, I just want to say, so why is it then that we get this idea of, oh my gosh, this investment of automation is going to be huge, and yeah, maybe I want to upgrade this cell in my shop, or this piece of equipment, or maybe I want to add rollers here, or maybe I want to add an automated finishing line here, or whatever. Why do we look at that as not automation, and we say, oh, automation is automating everything? And I wonder if it's because automating everything is almost an easier, more nebulous thought to grab than really getting down into the processes and understanding this is the next step of automation. This is the next step of automation.
Agreed. And I think when we look at automation, everybody immediately assumes there has to be a PLC or something controlling this device.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
I think that's a big one. And, you can kind of take the automation discussion, as you're starting this process into that automation PLC controlled devices, right? Look at just process improvements. Put in a roller track,
100%.
Okay, add some carts to move your materials around, to organize, to give you visual management of your product, right?
Yeah.
Those are all things that you're doing to increase the efficiency of those processes,
right?
What's automation doing for you? Yeah. Increasing the efficiency of the process.
That's what it's doing.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so some of those are PLC controlled, but it doesn't have to go that far to start.
Not to start.
And that's
absolutely
that's where a lot of people lose the dialogue. Okay, you don't have to invest $250,000 to get started on automation or this process of improvement.
Yes,
right?
Agreed.
It could be $1,000 in carts that now organize your materials per job.
Yes.
It's as simple as something like that.
And if you don't take that step, you won't get to the full shop flow software or the fully automated. You won't get to that next step. One of the speakers from last week had a good point, but I want everyone to kind of put it in context. And the point was that he said automation is great, but shops need to be ready for automation. They need to have their processes ready for automation. They need to have their data intact and organized for automation. And like you said, that maybe those things then are actually prohibiting people from taking the steps into what they think automation is.
Agreed.
It doesn't have to be that way.
Agreed. Right? And I think, when you talk about being prepared for automation, one of the things I'm going to go back to is, okay, that better beats best concept.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
Do it fast, put it in quick, right? Guess what? You're going to have failures. That is manufacturing.
Right.
Right? It's how you deal with those failures and overcome those challenges that's going to make you even more successful with that automation, with that process improvement. And I think a lot of people miss, well, I just spent $250,000 on this machine to automate my process. Well, this only gave me a 2% benefit in manufacturing.
Sure. Right.
Okay.
Right.
But you haven't looked at the entire system, right? Okay. One key piece of this system is working better, but everything around it, you weren't prepared for this.
Right.
And that's what we're talking about. So once you implement this automation, this concept of improvement, right, you need to be sure that you're evaluating the whole picture. Otherwise, you're not getting the complete benefit of that capital investment that you just had.
That's right. Absolutely.
And work with it.
Yes, and work with it. That's right. And build onto it.
Exactly.
So another thing that you hear quite a bit, especially from the machinery side of things, is, well, if I'm going to automate, I feel like I have to go with either a single brand or a single a single suite of whatever that is. Man, some of the best shops I've been in they got
hodgepodge of everything.
Yeah, but you know what? They automated.
Yep.
And it's wild. And so again, it's taking those steps and not letting that future state prohibit you from taking those first steps into automation.
Agreed.
I go back to in feeds, roller tables, and return conveyors.
Simple.
Very simple steps.
Yep.
Very, very simple steps that take shops to that next level.
Yep.
I wonder how many production shops out there have a crystal ball that's not foggy enough to really understand that if they take that first step, then what that second step, how much easier it is to take that second step.
To take the second step.
Right.
Yep.
And that's something that you don't really gain without doing it.
Yep.
But it's so much easier and clear. You have clarity to take that second step after you've taken those first initial steps.
Yep. Once you begin and you understand, right, the benefits that you'll gain from this process improvement, the automation, right, and you work with it, right, you'll begin to notice how much easier everything from that point forward becomes.
Right.
Right? Because you have that experience now. You've developed this understanding, this foundation of it.
Okay, one more quick thing, because you just said a word that I don't know. I'm going to call you out on it. So one more thing. You just said notice.
Yes.
Okay, so yes, sure, shops may notice the difference.
Yep.
They may notice some bad things too. Noticing is okay.
Yep.
Measuring is better.
Measuring is better.
Right.
I would agree.
So put up the metrics.
Yep.
Put up the boards. Put up the define your KPIs.
Yes.
And put them up on the shop floor.
Yes.
Yep.
And let the operators see them. Right. That is so critical.
Let the operators drive them.
Yeah, exactly. Right. The operators seeing the dashboard that says, okay, like what we did is we had one that said, here's the parts through the mill, here's the parts through finishing, here's the assembled product today.
Right.
Right. And if the assembly line shut down, that board went red. Right. Everybody knew in the facility there's something wrong.
Yep.
Right. But now it gives every operator in the facility this visual tool that they can say, we're doing a good job today.
100%.
Right.
Agreed.
And if you have multiple shifts or departments working against each other, build a little bit of competition. People love that.
Totally, absolutely. And then when you introduce that automation, again, manage expectations.
Yep.
Manage expectations. If you're having to disrupt the production, let everybody know we're going to disrupt the production because in the future we want our metrics to look like this instead of this. This is our ceiling. We want to get up to this next ceiling. We got to go down a little bit to go up.
Yep.
And have those metric boards reflect that.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yep. And then, going back to the whole stigma of, I'm going to lose my job with this automation.
Right.
Right. Those metrics allow the operators to see that there was a benefit to this, right? Yes, I'm still here. I see the automation. I see the board. I know that this was positive, right? Once they see that, you will start to build a culture of those people who want that to happen now,
right?
Right. But you have to take that first step.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So we're gonna go into talking about the open house. I feel like I want to go go work in the shop now, but
I gotta go home. I gotta work
make
on
something right now. So, all right. So as we said in the beginning of TCA this morning, in October, late October, we are having Oktoberfest here at Weinig Holz-Her USA in Mooresville, North Carolina. Oktoberfest this year is our open house. And if you want to learn about automation, if you want to learn about those first steps, if you want to partner in that, you should come. Come and hang out, have a good time, but then also see the technology that we have to offer.
Yep.
Now, Nathan, you're involved in Oktoberfest quite a bit.
Correct.
So you want to give everybody kind of a rundown of what to expect?
Sure. Right. So I'll kind of take the automation discussion and jump in with that. Right. If you're looking at moving from sliding table saw to a flat table nesting machine.
Okay,
right?
sure.
Automation's great. Okay, but how do you get the information to it? So a lot of the dialogue we're going to have at Oktoberfest is all about integration, right?
Okay,
Whether it
right,
be the
sure.
MillVision software, the InVision suite, right? And everything here with us is modular. Okay, say that you start this business, you have a nesting machine, you want to start sending data to it. You want to send your orders to it, right? Okay,
Yep.
InVision's a perfect module,
Okay.
right? Let's say that next year your business has grown and all of a sudden you want to start making cabinet doors, right?
Okay,
The best
right.
part is you get the InVision module for wood processing. Now you can send it to a ripsaw, right? You can see your tools for the molder. You can see the crosscut list.
Sure.
All this information is now available at those machines, right? And this is where I kind of go back to partnering with somebody. A lot of people think you have to have that partner,
Right.
right? And that's one thing that we focused on because we see that people want that single partner. So with our software suites and the demos we're going to be providing, we show how you can scale and grow with our platform.
Step by step, like
Step
what we
by
were
step.
talking.
Exactly,
Yeah,
right?
Sure.
And you just need to take the first step.
Yeah.
Right? From that point forward, it's just going to continue to roll.
Right. So in the past, during open houses in the past, we have had like full out software presentations.
Yeah.
Yeah, you won't get one of those this year.
No.
We
People
that's
don't learn
not-
it that way.
Well, it's not real life, right?
Yeah.
It's not real life. No one is running their shop solely on software.
Yeah.
That
Correct.
then they're not in manufacturing.
Yeah.
Well, we sell manufacturing equipment. so we get it. We understand. So this year, instead of talking about software, we're talking about actual applications.
Correct. Application at the machine.
At
right?
the machine, yes.
So all of our software demonstrations this year are going to be directly at the machine that we're integrating with and utilizing to process that data.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
That's critical here because I think everybody missed. Like you sit in a conference room, you watch a software demo, and you're like, okay, cool, it does that stuff. Right. Now you're going to see the magic happen.
Now you're going to actually see it happen, and it's almost an immediate proof of concept too, because
Agreed.
you're doing it on the screen, then it goes to the machine, and you get it. You get the physical part. It's like, okay, I get it now.
Yeah.
I grasp it now.
Yep.
Yeah. So, all right. So that's what we're doing this year when it comes to demonstrations. We are also bringing back crowd favorites, the maintenance workshops.
Okay.
So
Those will be good.
Yeah, they're always fun. They're good. So we will be having maintenance workshops, edge banders, CNC machines, molders, and saws. So four different maintenance workshops over the course of 2 days. All right, we're going to be posting that schedule on the event page. Real quick, also, you have to register. If you're coming to Oktoberfest, you got to register. I'll post the registration link in the comments of this video. And on that registration page, we'll have the full event schedule of all the demonstrations, the maintenance workshops, etc. But the maintenance workshops are crowd favorites because they really get into the weeds about how to keep your Weinig or Holz-Her machine running at its highest potential.
Yep.
So, yeah. And the technicians who run those workshops, they're the best. They're absolutely the best.
They know their stuff, that's for sure.
Yeah, we're bringing Jimmy back for the molder maintenance workshop, and he is, that guy, so knowledgeable.
Yes.
But also so entertaining.
Oh, he is great. He is great to watch demonstrations
Yeah.
and maintenance and learn from.
So our Edge Bander maintenance workshop this year is going to be run by Mr. Mark Van Dyke, who also did a maintenance workshop at the Vegas show.
I was gonna say he's kind of famous now, isn't
Yeah,
he?
he is kind of famous. Had a very well attended session in at the Las Vegas show earlier this year. So a lot of people are getting to know Mark. Again, extremely tenured, has been around banders for decades, knows what he's talking about.
Wealth of information.
Yeah, absolutely. So the maintenance workshops are coming back. Real life machining demonstrations happening with software integration happening in our showroom. And then, of course, like I said before, it's going to be fun. It's Oktoberfest themed. We'll have all kinds of activities here in our showroom. Again, it's Thursday, Friday, October 28th and 29th. We'll put a registration link in the comments below. Yeah. All right. So Nathan, thank you for joining us on TCA.
It's been fun.
Yeah. And a quick reminder to everyone who has lasted this long, through the stream. No TCA next week. We're all traveling next week. I'll be out of the office, but in 2 weeks' time, we'll be back at you talking about industry news, upcoming events, and what's going on here at Wine and Culture USA. Until then, be safe, be positive.
And don't forget, take that first